Some new brewery improvements coming up, I think. This is the new HLT, or it will be. As you can see, I've cut the top off. And if you can see down there, there's a big hole, which I've just toiled with putting in. Let's throw some light on the subject. There's a 64mm hole, or 2.5 inches I think, for the Americans. That's an immersion heater boss. That bit screws on there. Your immersion heater screws in there. I've got an 11-inch immersion heater, which is, shall we say, an interference fit going in to the hole. And the other problem is you've got the rim of the keg right where this needs to screw up. So I've marked around here, I've got a panel beat this bit flat. It comes with a seal, which is supposed to go on the other side, but I've also got the seal that goes around the immersion heater. I've been reliably informed epoxy putty is pretty good. Should there be any tolerance misgivings, I've saved the lid, and I'll just tack weld some washers on the lip, same as old Harry Brew 69 done his with rivets. So we'll have a lid. Like that. Now, if any of you should require a keg, stay tuned.
In the dark. There are a few more available.
Well, Homebrew Wednesday number 50. Not long now. Of course, Ben's just passed that milestone, so congratulations to Ben for reaching his 1-year anniversary as a fully fledged member of the BrewTube community. I think we're about level pegging with Homebrew Wednesdays now, because I think you've missed 1 or 2 out, but I know I started a short while after you because I was waiting on a video camera. I did attempt to do my first one on an old VHS-C and a capture card, but the audio was so far out of sync it looked like a badly dead Charlie Chaplin film, so I had to wait and buy this camera off of eBay. Which leads me to another link. Obviously you've seen the opening scene. I've acquired... No, I did buy them, honestly. I bought them. The covert footage isn't the back of a pub or a brewery, it's my yard. They're languishing in my yard. 50 litre kegs. Picked a few up with a view to converting a few and passing them on out. So phase 1 is my own one, which is going to give me a 50 litre HLT. As you saw in the opening bit there, I've done the lid, cut that off freehand with a 4.5 inch angle grinder, and I already had the hole cutter, although I think it's probably killed it. It was only one of them cheap and cheerful hole cutters with a battery drill. The reason I chose that is because it was slow speed. Even slower, seems all the batteries are half knackered, so I was constantly interchanging between my half dead batteries to keep the momentum going. So 2.5 hours later, in between standbys and charging and batteries too hot to charge and waiting for them to cool down and making dinner, we finally broke through, cleaned it up and little bit of dressing with the old grit disc and a file, and we managed to just tease the thread through. Now actually that thread of that inner boss is the same thread, obviously, because it's threaded all the way through the outer boss. So you could, in theory, screw this straight through the keg and then just purchase the smaller back nut to go on, which was another idea I had, but those bosses are only 11 quid. I have found a company that make a stainless steel one. Obviously I'll need someone to TIG weld those into the keg so that you can screw these straight in. This is the little 11-inch element. This is the bit that causes the problem going through those inner bosses. It is a push fit, and obviously you can't give these too much because there's a wire runs inside the tube with usually like a powdery crystalline insulation, and if that breaks down and shorts against this, boom, off goes your electric, and this goes in the bin. And obviously you need to bypass the resettable thermostat. Obviously you don't want it turning off at 70. I don't know what this one goes to, doesn't say. But yeah, so phase 1 is fitting this. Next will be a temperature gauge and sight glass. Got to get a temperature gauge yet. I'll just use my electronic one to start with, but obviously later on, if I get a relay system wired in, I could use one of those STC type controllers to control the temperature of the HLT, so that you can just set it and forget about it, rather than just leave this to boil its nuts off. Although I'm going to be there while it's happening, so it's not like you're going to walk away and have it boil dry. Not 50 litres anyway. The Burcos are 33, but obviously they're thermostat controlled, so they'll cut in and out. We're obviously with no thermostat in this, and obviously you could use, you know, that is where the thermometer probe, or the thermostat probe goes. So you could slide an electric one inside there. My only theory, obviously, with it being right on the element, it's going to read the temperature here and not the volume of water. So I shall move a normal sort of layout and have the tap, and then possibly a thermometer through the keg, or maybe an electric one. I don't know. Obviously, I did sort of think, well, you know, go three barrel system and do something like a Herms or a Rims system. Obviously my brew pot is already 70, so I'm not going to gain anything by using a keg as a boil kettle unless I made another electric one. The mash tun's 45 litres and the kegs are 50 litres, so again I'm not really going to gain a huge lot. I might make one and put some foam in, spray insulation on the base and trim it off, and get one of those sleeping bag bed mats, wrap that round and put some foil tape around it and some of that foil bubble wrap, and then sheathe it in timber so it looks like a conventional later mash tun that you'd see in a brewery with all the timber around it, if I could be bothered, or have the time. I'm daydreaming. Anyway, let me put this out of the way. So yes, I have some other kegs. Obviously they are complete as is. I can cut the tops off. I shan't be volunteering to drill holes for immersion heaters because it takes quite a while and it eats a cutter. So you can say, you know, if I buy a good quality one, 10 quid, it'll last 2 cuts. Cheap one is 5ish quid. It lasts 1 cut, so that's a £5 on the job before I even do anything. So obviously, and the bosses are 11 quid. So you know you're looking 15 quid plus my time on that. And some people do what Harry done with his one and Homebrew Tom and cut a slot, and you can fit the washing machine elements in, which are 11-12 quid versus these, which are 15. Obviously the washing machines are usually about 2.2 kilowatt, which isn't much more than a kettle. 50 litres of water. It will dip it, it just take longer. That's 3 kilowatts, so obviously mashing temperature time isn't going to take as long with that as it would do with wash machine. Obviously you could bung 2 in, it's entirely up to you. But they're all 50 litre kegs, they're all pretty much identical, and I shall keep some for myself. And I was talking to the guy because he did have some keg connectors on for sale as well, and he had one I was after, which is the continental style, which is like a horseshoe and slides on over the top and then clamps down. And I'd got the Grundy type, which I don't see with the light, which has got 3 points on it, so there's like a triangular. You put it on, turn it, then bring your lever down. And I was going to see if you could do a swap for one of these, because we have at work some 20 litre continental kegs, which obviously I'm thinking damn sight cheaper than corny kegs. Hopefully, haven't managed to, you know, drop that little seed of thought over to work to see if I can acquire 1 or 2 of those. But he said, come by the shop next week, I'll give you one. So I thought, well, I ain't going to say no to that. Even if I don't get hold of the keg, I'll have another keg connect. And I was thinking that some of these kegs were going to have the round top, and they're either Sankey, a bayonet fitting, or the Grundy type, like this. They all have a similar sort of method inside to lock them. You've probably seen, if you've looked, there's various videos on YouTube as to how to remove the spur and feed pipe, pickup pipe from them. There's a little lug that comes out that stops you taking it out once you've unscrewed it. Secret is basically you've got to push down the centre on the Sankey style and bayonet fittings to release the spring tension against that little bayonet lug, and then you can unscrew it, take it out. I might do a video on it actually if I get these other ones, because there's a pain in the arse if you wanted to take them out, clean them and refill them. But you could remove the lug if it's the same setup as the one I've just done. You could remove the lug, put back the cup washer and spring, so you can just screw it up, use it and unscrew it, clean it out and refill it. A lot easier without the special tools that they use to do them in the breweries. But that's keg news. Oh, so I went and bought some more cutting discs and bits and pieces, and I picked up the rest of my brass attachments to go on my 2 HLTs, not HLTs, my warp chiller coils. So we'll have the tap connectors on the adapter going on to the 1/2 inch BSPs, which are soldered on to the tops, so that I've got 2 brass fittings in and out so they don't melt like the last ones. Plus I've got another pair here so I can link the 2 together in the 70 litre pot and have 2 warp chillers, rib cage style, one looped in out the other. Or if I'm using my smaller pot, I can use just the one. So we're nearly sorted out for being operational again. I found some. So I guess it's beer time, because obviously there's no brewing. It's all been drilling and grinding this weekend to do the keg. We're back to normal hours now at work, so I sort of have some free time-ish, if you can call it that. I always manage to fill it with something, even if I'm doing nothing. Anyway, I've got 2 more of Beer Lover 1983 Grant's beers, which were the ones he said needed aging, so I don't know whether he's tried any of his yet to give me a report back, so I will leave them for this week. And I went shopping today, and our local Tesco's has finally restocked with the Melina Polish raspberry syrup again, which I know some of the guys have made a raspberry based wine out of that, but I took the other option and made a beer. No, not a cookie beer, that's just me being too lazy to take the label off. A little test bottle of me raspberry beer. I used Holland and Barrett, or it's sold by Holland and Barrett. It's not the Holland and Barrett malt. It is a company called Potter's. It's about 650 grams of malt extract, slightly darker than the Holland and Barrett one. It was one of those in a demijohn. Let me confer with my brew notes. Wrong book. That's the recipe book. Here's the brewer's log. Raspberry. Right, we used 650 grams of Potter's malt, available from Holland and Barrett. 1 bottle of the Lowick raspberry syrup, the Melina, which is raspberry in Polish. They do a number of others, but finding someone that sells them is a bit difficult. They do a cherry one, but I can't find anywhere local to me that sells that one. Yeah, so it was a bottle of the syrup, raspberry syrup, and 1 tin of raspberries in syrup from Tesco's. Other supermarkets sell them, but they do them in grape juice. I didn't want to make a wine that had a malt profile, so I opted for the Tesco's one. 1 tin of that, which has real raspberries in syrup. Again, it's sugar based, so it's fermentable. And 1 bottle of the raspberry syrup, which is very sugary and very raspberry. That gave me a start gravity of 1062. It fermented out to about 1012, so it's made it 6.56%. Now I have tried the cherry version I done. I have yet to try the raspberry, so this is a live testing, if it was live. Last time I tried the cherry, it did need a little bit longer. There's a little hiss, not a huge one, and then there's not a big head space. We've got a little bit of foam coming up. Definitely raspberry on the nose. Cherry didn't pour a fantastic head. It looks a bit cloudy. It's carved, but it seems to be doing what all my beers seem to be doing, which is doing an impression of Coca-Cola. Froth up, fizz, and then go flat as a witch's tit. Don't know why. There's carb coming up through the glass, but there's absolutely no head. Even my kit beers have done it. Got a bit of yeasty lump in it. It definitely smells like a raspberry. Tastes like a raspberry. Just lacks carbonation. There's a little bit of bitterness, fruit tartness. Obviously it's very, very raspberry. It's as raspberry flavoured as a commercial Framboos Belgian beer. It's quite sour, but not in a bad way, with a little tart bitterness that you get from fruit. But it's just a shame cosmetically she's flat. It's not clear. It's not, you can't really. We'll go for the torch. It don't come through much. 6.8%. Get a bit of sweetness on the tongue. But it is quite palatable. It does remind me of the Belgian Framboos beers, because I've tried most of them. There is an alcohol flavour to it as well. She is quite tart. Not going to be a session beer, but then it wasn't made for a session. I just really, it was an experimental brew. See what it comes out like. I'd say there is some carbonation, as you just heard, and you can feel a little bit of. But she has, they don't retain the carb. Whether that's they just need longer in the bottle. A little bit of sediment floating around in there. More and more like a lambic every day. Now it was just fermented with a normal kit yeast. I just split the pack between the two demijohns, one for the cherry, one for the raspberry. But if it weren't drinkable, I'd be waffling on and putting this glass down. And as you can tell, it worked. So I'm quite pleased in that respect that both experiments have produced what I was going for taste wise, although they're obviously not lambic yeasts. They are just purely normal beer kit yeasts. Now obviously, as some of you know, I work in a beer shop that sells a lot of Belgian beers. So there could be a Mark 2 or 3 with some harvested lambic yeast in the demijohn. But I don't think you'd want this any more tart than it is. But yeah, you know there's alcohol there when you got that far down. I can feel it on my throat. Hey ho! Anyway, I think that's about it for me, guys. Can't tell you no more. Still got the mead sitting in the demi. It's cleared a little bit, but it seems to have sort of got to that point where it don't want to do anything else. It's still maintaining a bit of pressure. The airlock hasn't rescinded back round, so there's pressure there. But I might need a little bit of bed tonight, Mr. Zippy. She's coming up to 2 months in secondary. Now it's a bit of raspberry. Told you it was real. I like these. There aren't many. There aren't many. 6, 7, 8. There's 11 now. So, those that are going to get a bear mail in the near future, you might be lucky. Then again, you might not. Anyway, I'm still waffling. And I don't know what I've done on the remote, so I had it. There it is. That beer is good. Anyway, week 50 done and dusted. My little red light's coming on my battery. So who knows when it'll end. See you in 51.